Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, Integrative Family Nurse Practitioner, and thank you for joining in on the Mindfully Integrative podcast. So today's mindful chat was with the wonderful Fallon Lopez. She is an RN, she's a wellness coach, and she is an individual that is very in tune to the healthcare professional and being the one to be well for you. So I just want you to meet her and learn about her, and she gives you plenty of tips. So thank you, Fallon, for joining in today.
Thank you for having me, Damaris.
Oh, of course. I love it.
Excited.
Tell the listeners and those watching, um, first, how are you? And, tell them, how are you doing? What's a little fun fact about you?
Oh, yes. Fun facts. These are put me on the spot.
Fun fact. Come on, something fun.
So, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm just going to let you know. I was a singer at one time in my life.
What? That's
Yeah,
great.
I used to write songs at a very young
Whoa. You
age.
don't really give up on that. You probably still could do it. Still
I,
add.
I've actually been through the help of a community, my community at church and things like that. I've actually gotten back into it, like thinking about it at least. I'm like, hey, that's something I gave up. I quit. Why did I quit it? So I did at one time. I was a singer, a dancer at the tender age of like 5 all the way to 11. And I was singing,
Oh,
writing, dancing.
that's so cool.
I was made for the camera.
Oh, that's so nice. I can sing a little bit in church. I did a little bit, but I wasn't like really profound. My husband's like the music one out of
Really?
our two. Yeah, I mean, I could sing. I was okay, but I mean, my husband definitely is the musically inclined one. So anytime you'll see pictures, it'll be like Phil playing the guitar. Tamara's kind of off tune. Yeah, so
It's so
that's
much
that's a
fun though.
really no, but that's a really great creative talent that, and that's probably your space to kind of reset and relax with. And writing in itself too. You probably are probably an amazing writer.
Yeah, I need to get back to it.
And when you have your space, for you, but that's cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a registered nurse, and what kind of nurse are you? And how did you get into this integrative wellness space?
Yes. So, okay, I'm a registered nurse. I started off as an LVN. I've been a nurse for about 9 years, but I started off as an LVN, getting, accustomed to everything. And then I was pushed, encouraged by other people around me, go back to school, go back to school.
Right.
Um, and for me, being a Latina, being somewhere, I grew up in Houston, Texas. I didn't grow up with the best background. LVN was perfect. LVN
Right.
was, a good opportunity, but a lot of for a while, I held myself back. I did have to change my community. I had to get around other people that were doing like-minded things. And I then was encouraged to actually go back to school, got my RN BSN, started working at the hospital doing critical care nursing. And that's where I really flourished. I learned so much. I, got my certification as a certified critical care nurse. I was a preceptor. I did charge nurse. I did everything I could, but I felt still very powerless in that field. Like I just felt part of like this huge organization, and I felt very powerless. Honestly, this was before even COVID hit. I was feeling very burnt out. I was feeling powerless, and those are things that definitely you can say are symptoms of moral distress. I didn't feel like my work mattered, and that's a dangerous place for nurses to be. Because we run the show. Alongside with the medical team, of course, we are a very important part of it. So when a nurse starts to feel that way, that's a red flag. Something needs to change, and
Right. Right.
that was my red flag. So I was like, something needs to change. I need to do something to keep these patients from coming back to the hospital. They just come here, they get lost, and they just keep coming back, and they keep getting worse. And then they all, like I felt like I couldn't save my patients at one point. So I was looking to leave nursing for good. I went back to get a certification as a personal trainer, as a health
Mhm.
and wellness coach, and I
Right.
started building this vision, a business to help patients stay away from the hospital. But then COVID hit, and I was already making the transition out of my nursing, the critical care. I was a float nurse. I was like just anywhere they needed help during COVID. So I was in the ICUs and, med surge. I've done it all. And through that time, I had to be real with myself. Like, where is my help needed? Where do I need to help? Where can I help? And
Yeah.
like a moment, like my God moment, and was like, look, you have the skills, about health and wellness, help your nursing colleagues, like help the people that they're going to need it, and I would have my colleagues, they'd be like, Fallon, what are you doing? You look great. You're so healthy. You're so fit, and I'm like, what? Okay. And so it really was a time of pivot, and I pivoted into being a nurse wellness coach after that, like during COVID. And so it's been maybe a year or so, a little bit more than a year doing it. And it's growing.
Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. Yes, that's my passion. It's my passion project right now. So that's how I got into wellness.
Yeah, I bet you have probably always been in it. You must have been a like-minded in the sense of your health was something part of what you did on a regular, right? You're not somebody, or was it? I mean, I don't know how you were prior. Were you always pretty conscious
So,
about like your overall?
well, not necessarily. I felt like I held these standards of society, and this is something that I talk about because I was guilty of like falling into the trap of, oh, I have to be skinny, a size 0. I have to work out really hard. I have to just be the things, do the things like the diets and the, the workouts and things to be deemed healthy, to be deemed beautiful, to be deemed worthy. So, doing that, it didn't help me. I still got burnt out. I still, my mental health was like, so affected a lot. So I honestly, it's been a new growth process for me, honestly.
Yeah, I can understand that. I hear it in your voice, and like it's not something that just it takes time, and like we call it the work in progress, but the non-perfect, it's like the non-perfect, perfections, it's great that you're seeing that, and now you want to apply it to help other individuals, and was there anything in your life, like you said, like you had to transition went into RN, was there anything in your life that kind of brought you more into that, or was it kind of, was there anyone inspiring or a struggle that kind of got you more into this mindset, or was it just because you're very burnout and you're like, oh, I gotta change?
That and a few other things. That's
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
right.
if you want to share, if you don't want to share right now, it's okay. Another day we'll have another shot.
Well, yes. I think the biggest thing is like hitting rock bottom, right? And I had a family member, he passed away, and it's like the basis of the name of my business, Are You Well? So there's a capital R, and it's not just Are You Well, it's, capital R, You Well. And so my family member, he passed away. He struggled with diabetes. It was hard to make lifestyle changes, and I see a lot of my people, my Hispanic people, my Latino people, they struggle, and it's generational things,
It's definitely generational. I'm Latina and Black, and I'm like, people don't know how to eat, like just in food, just food wise. And it's scary because food is good and they don't know how to like cut it out.
It's hard to help them connect. And sometimes they can get lost in the system. And so I felt like that was like the pushing force, because I was like, I wish as a nurse, I could have done more. I could have done something. So it was kind of like this pushing force to like, Fallon, you can still do something. And in memory of him, I kept the R because that's his first name started with the R. And so it's also a way to challenge others. Are you well? Are you doing okay? What are you doing for your health? So that's kind of like something that definitely inspired another something, but I won't get into the others. You know how it is.
Yeah, no, totally. I feel like it's, within time, it's, you'll write your own your book, your own, like I'm trying to write mine. You'll get there.
Yes.
So, was there someone that inspired you through the years that got you even more, with nursing and kind of transition?
Yes, I mean, there's been several people, but honestly, I think definitely my family, my sister, she has just loved me unconditionally through this process. My sister Hannah, for sure. And then, looking up to people, just being honestly, the group that we're in, Sanciel,
Sanciel. Oh yes,
it has
Sanciel is
been
wonderful. They're
a game changer.
a group of like-minded individuals. Sanciel, anyone, I'm going to plug them because I love them and they're my peeps. So they're a group of scientists, leaders, innovators. Go check them out. SON. I'll put the show notes. So it's
Yes.
scientists, it's leaders, and entrepreneurs, innovators, and they're making change in the world and the nursing community and beyond. So that's how we met.
Yes, and it's been a game changer, like just being around different people that have like-minded things. And I listened to Rebecca Love one time on the TED Talk or on some other podcast.
Amazing woman.
And it just lit this fire in me. I was like, nurses can do this? What? Exactly. So definitely just being around like-minded individuals, like the groups on CL for sure.
That makes sense. It's very inspiring, and it's good to be with people that support each other, and then then it just spans out, and what else can we do to help and change. So in your not like not necessarily your career, but like, do you have a go-to like book or go-to in quote or something that you do on your daily to get you into your groove? Like, what's your maybe like your daily schedule like for you, or a one or two things? Like for me, I try to get up around the same time. I'm not a journaler, but I'll do a read or listen to music or pray. Like, is there something that you've got that kind of is your go-to? Or
Yes, of course. So for me, I'm very big on my faith. So I wouldn't say I'm religious, but it's a relationship. So my faith is important to me. And through this time, like of transition, of growth, I've just been leaning on it so much more. And this has really been important to me, just letting go of maybe like so much pressure to have control, to know every step that's going to happen, to know exactly how I'm going to get to my goals. I kind of just give the pressure to or I let go of that pressure to know everything, to have the right words to say, to just have everything figured out, because I
well,
feel
you're
like,
a critical care nurse. We want to know everything. We want
yes,
to have every step situated times 10. And knowing you put your faith in your
God,
whoever
that's,
God, you put your faith in
yes,
God to say it's to go, let you go further each step, right? And I
exactly.
think that's really important, whatever faith anyone is that's listening, or whatever their spiritual energetic tone is, we don't have control of it all, right? And
Yes,
um like when the door is open, one door closes, one door opens, but the things go in flow. I had another individual tell me, like, when you're in flow, or when your God wants you to be in this energetic flow, and you're in the right path, so things will open for you. So
exactly.
like you said, you don't have the control, but you do, and it's like there's not, sometimes you don't have the right answer, but or you might not go, well, how do I get to Z? And I do it too. I'll go from A, and then I'll go A, B, C. I'll start to go my steps, and then I'll be like, I want to go to the end. And sometimes it can be a little challenging. And it sounds like you're aware and aligning yourself to where you need to
Yes.
be.
Like it's just been honoring that process. Like it's okay to, grow. It's okay to change. It's okay to, just honor your process of change, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just being okay with the good, the bad, the ugly, and growing from it. I think that's been a very big practice in my everyday life, like showing myself a lot of compassion, a lot of grace, a lot of generosity. Like these are things that I didn't do before, and I was like, what? I am so hard on myself. I am so hard on myself. And so just having that faith, showing myself grace and love every day. And literally, it's sometimes just looking in the mirror like, Fallon, you're okay. You're doing all right. You're where you need to be. And it's okay. It's a process.
I love it. I love that, just that in itself, for a tip for someone. It's like, we're okay. Where you're at is what you're supposed to be. Like, you're sitting in the present moment, and you're giving yourself that compassion. And I don't think all of us do that, and and to acknowledge that is beautiful. I really love that. So we can sit with that for a minute. Um, I know that, your time is precious, but I do wanted to know if there is a little mindful way or tidbit that you would like to share um, for those listening and watching.
Yeah, I mean, just through this process, like for me, for anybody here that's listening, I mean, we've had such a crazy, stressful year. We've had so many things, so many ups and downs. I don't have to rehash it. But as we come back to a recentering place, as we come back to a recovery place, a place of like, okay, how do we recover? How do we move on? How do we move forward? I feel it's very important in this time to not put so much pressure from society, to bring those pressures from society, maybe from your culture, maybe from your religious pressures to be a certain way of health, to be a certain way of wellness, to be a certain way of skinny or fit, or there's all these words to deem yourself healthy.
Yeah.
As we're recentering, as we're coming back to this time of recovery, they're like, oh, you may hear this, oh, the quarantine weight, how do we bounce back? How do we snap back? Instead of focusing on all the outcomes of like strict diets, crazy intense workouts, like instead of putting those added pressures on ourselves right now, I feel like we need to, maybe switch it. It's a different time of recovery. It's a time to really live in empowerment and love and acceptance and grace, and really go from a holistic approach, especially as healthcare professionals. Now we've been through the stress. Why add more stress from our diet and workouts and things like that? We should create a space for love, for abundance, for acceptance, and there we can see where we need to grow in that space of acceptance of like, hey, maybe I do need to work on this, maybe I do. You can then really grow. And I feel like coming from that place is where the real change is going to happen.
That makes sense. I love that. I think that you're coming to grace, but coming to them, the realization. I love the empowerment part because I feel like we don't always empower ourselves to make the change, and I think that's necessary.
Yeah, instead of putting so much pressure to be this, to be that, to be, like, hey, like we've had a long year, we've had a crazy year. Okay, where can I work on now? Like, looking the whole inventory.
Mm-hmm. How can individuals get to know you, find you? I mean, I'm going to have the information in the show notes, of course, but how can they find you, Fallon Lopez, registered nurse, wellness coach? How can they find you, and where, and are you having any upcoming events that they can reach out to you?
Yes, so actually this couldn't happen at the better time. I actually just launched a one-on-one 12-week program, the Nurse Wellness Initiative, and it's specifically for us healthcare providers, us caregivers, people that are in that space of like always, caring and looking out for others, and now, as I was saying, like it's time to recover. It's time to come back to what's important, and live in this new normal. So through this program, we're going to address the whole body empowerment. That is going to be, a mindset shift, self-care, real self-care, and spirituality growth. We address these 3 tiers in the 12-week program. It's a one-on-one program with me. And, I'm excited because I just launched last week. And so I have a few more spaces available if anybody is interested in that. You can reach me on my website, ruwell.com. I'm also on Instagram, Fallon_wellness coach, as well as Facebook. I have also a Facebook group, the Nurse Wellness Community, where I go live every week. I share insights and tips and fun hacks and tricks to, stay on this wellness journey together. It's another support place for all healthcare healers. So you can definitely reach me in those places. And I'm also on LinkedIn. That's where we met, right? So
Yeah, that's great. I'll put those in the show notes. So I really appreciate you being on Mindfully Integrative podcast, and thank you so much for your time and your space.
Thank you for the space.
Oh, and my heart and my light appreciates you, and as those listening, I hope that they can find a mindful way each and every day. Namaste, each one of you, and have a great day or evening. Bye, guys.